So talk about weird news. The former Speaker of the House, that's John Boehner, is now on the board of a major cannabis company. According to Bloomberg, the Republican former Speaker of the House has joined the advisory board of Acreage Holdings. That is a company that apparently cultivates, processes, and dispenses cannabis in 11 states. Well, that is really, really strange. So you got a former Republican Speaker of the House that is on the board of a pot company. That has so many implications, and some of them are awesome. Now, you ask him, he says, quote, why he actually joined the board. Over the last 10 to 15 years, the American people's attitudes have changed dramatically. I find myself in that same position. So basically, he's like, hey, man, look, I evolved on pot. So I will now join a company that basically supplies cannabis to 11 different states and possibly more in the future. I would say, okay, look, even if you did evolve on the issue, which is great, there's a big financial incentive. So by the way, when he was Speaker of the House, he was actually incredibly anti-pot. So when he was in power, when it mattered, he was anti-marijuana. But then suddenly, he gets out, a couple years after he gets out, he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I have evolved on this issue, especially now that marijuana is a multi-billion-dollar business. I have evolved and I will join this company. Now, he's not alone. He actually joined with former Massachusetts Governor William Weld. Now, if that name is familiar, it's because he ran with Gary Johnson in the 2016 election. Oh, that's fine. William Weld, he's a big libertarian, and he is also fine with pot. Okay, hey, great. Now, according to Bloomberg, Weld, as I said, will join Bainer on the advisory board, which holds 35 licenses for cannabis businesses in the United States. So look, you want to say you've evolved? Okay, great. If you've actually evolved on the issue, great. If you're lighting up doobies all the time now instead of drinking whiskey, awesome, wonderful. That's actually better for you than drinking the alcohol. But let's not pretend what this is really about. It's about the money, Lebowski. Follow the money. Look, the legal cannabis market is expected to reach, according to investment bank Cowen and Company, $75 billion by 2030. And it's worth over $10 billion now. So this is John Boehner likely saying, hey, man, look, I've evolved on this issue because there is a lot of money to be made. And he's absolutely right. I mean, Colorado, Washington, California, all these states that have legalized recreational and medical marijuana have been making a lot of money off of this. So now it's not a surprise that Republicans, they're the party of big business, they're the party of money. Now they want to cash in. They're like, hey, man, ooh, that pot thing, that's looking really, really interesting. I'm going to cash in. And you know what? That's actually, look, we can talk about rich corporations cornering the market on marijuana, and that is a big legitimate concern, especially in left-wing circles. Totally agree with that. But at the same time, with John Boehner joining in, this shows that pot is mainstream. It has been mainstreamed. Now, George Allen, this is the president of Acreage, told reporters, quote, we view this advocacy that we get from these two gentlemen as immensely positive for the industry. And he's right about that. Again, this is only mainstreaming pot among the Republican Party, which is already fairly popular in the Democratic Party. Fairly, okay, maybe not among the Democratic politicians, but among Democratic voters, it's actually incredibly popular. And you know what's funny? This actually puts John Boehner on this issue to the left of John Kennedy III, also of Massachusetts. So, big Mick resistance leader, Joe Kennedy. I said John Kennedy, didn't I? But it's Joe Kennedy III. Is to the right of John Boehner on cannabis. Insanity. This is the world that we live in now. But as I said before, the money's on the side, and the American people are on the side of marijuana. In fact, according to an October Gallup poll, 64% of Americans, including a majority of both Republicans and Democrats, say legalize it already. Legalize it, legalize it, legalize it. The American people are pretty clear. Not only that, but the business interests are lining up. You know what I said? Within 10 years. I said that a couple of years ago, so I think we got like 7 years left, but it will be legalized. Now, like Jeff Sessions, Attorney General right now, he's like, no, that marijuana, awful. Jeff Sessions isn't going to be there forever. So it's very likely, probably likely that because of the Mueller investigation, Trump will find a way to get rid of Jeff Sessions. First, you got to fire Rod Rosenstein, then you got to fire Jeff Sessions, but then you got to find a replacement, all that stuff. So, look, he might not be around for all that much longer. And even if he is, finishes to the end of Trump's first term, well, he still might not be there afterwards. And, of course, if there's a progressive president that wins in 2020, then, well, I don't think I have to explain what will happen. But things are changing, and I think very, very soon, within the next decade, a little less, we will have full marijuana legalization. Jeff Sessions is basically the last gasp of anti-pot. Even Republicans now, as I said before, are jumping on this because it is big business. Okay? So, and they want to cash in. Now, on why Bainer changed his perspective, this is interesting. He said his perspective shifted when he saw the plant's efficacy in helping a close friend deal with debilitating back pain. So, okay, this could go into, oh boy, I didn't know until it happened to me or somebody close to me. Well, that's called empathy, and I guess Republicans, unless it happens to them or someone close to them, they don't quite understand. But hey, when they do develop empathy, I guess that's a good thing after all, right? Now, he also said that marijuana's potential use as a treatment for veterans also helped sway him. Plus, he had been studying the problems with the U.S. criminal justice system. Get this quote, and this is going to blow your mind. He said, quote, "When you look at the number of people in our state and federal penitentiaries who are there for possession of small amounts of cannabis, you begin to really scratch your head. We have literally filled up our jails with people who are nonviolent and, frankly, do not belong in there." So now Bainer has not only moved to the left on legalization of marijuana, to the left of some Democratic politicians, but also on criminal justice reform when it comes to possession of marijuana. Isn't it amazing what politicians who are now no longer in power, no longer get that money from big corporations? For example, Corrections Corporation of America, one of the biggest private prison corporations, the biggest private prison lobbying groups as well. Isn't it amazing what happens when you no longer get that money? Isn't it amazing when you no longer have to beg these companies for bribes in order to win your campaigns, to win your elections? I mean, look, not in a million years would I have thought that John Boehner would be selling weed and talking about criminal justice reform.